welcome everyone to episode 7 of the Old School Player of the Week. As always, it's Riley and Ian, joined this week by Mike Oz and Kevin Kaduk, both of Yahoo Sports. Mike does old baseball cards. You might recognize him from his many great YouTube videos or Yahoo videos that he does. And Kevin's got a new Chicagoland sports project that we're going to talk about shortly. Mike, let's get right into it, though, with the old baseball card stuff. What are your favorite cards that you've ever unwrapped and your favorite subject that you've ever opened up a pack with?
So I'll do that in reverse. I think my favorite guest would be Pedro Martinez, just for like, I felt like we got the best stuff out of him. Like, we got his brother. We pulled his brother out of a pack. Nice. That was really cool. We got a great story from him at the end. It was sort of, and maybe you guys will, appreciate this as people who create things. Like, it was the first time I felt like the show was what I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like, oh, this is what I want the show to be. And it finally happened, So I like that episode for that reason. And then you asked what were my favorite cards that we've opened?
Yeah.
I like, because we don't open these very much, I like some of the old tops that precede like my life of a card collector. So like the early 80s stuff that I didn't get, like there's a recent episode we had with Derek Shelton, and we were opening 83 tops, and he just got in a row. He got like Mike Schmidt, Nolan Ryan, somebody else. And I was just like, man, that's like, those kind of cards, that's amazing. And then we've only ever opened one pack of 1989 Upper Deck, which I feel like is sort of our holy grail. I have sitting on like 5 of them waiting for, hopefully we'll get King Griffey Jr., but the only person I have yet allowed to open them is Randy Johnson. Because I feel like he should also be allowed to open those. So,
the Randy Johnson episode, I think, is a little bit underrated, because that was like, I always like the episodes that you have where I'm not expecting the guy to be good, and then the guy turns out to be really good, and like Randy Johnson. The guy that
I was so scared of Randy Johnson. Let me just like I had sort of just, I'll put these out sometimes with people. I'm like, hey, you think Randy Johnson do it? And they're like, yeah, probably. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect you to say yes. Okay. And then I don't know why I did this, but I was listening to a podcast on the way to go film that one. And in that, it was somebody talking about Randy Johnson and how much of a jerk he was. And I felt like it was just this foreshadowing of like, oh man, I'm going to walk into this and it's going to be horrible. So I go to the PR office, the Diamondbacks. They are not there, but Randy Johnson is. And he's just sitting there. And I was like, oh, what's up, man? And I kind of have my big thing of baseball cards that I bring. And he looks at me, he's like, we're not opening all those cards, are we? God, this is how this is going to start. And then he was the coolest dude, man. Like, he was so cool the whole time. He was great on the show. He even stuck around. We were filming like 3 in a row, and he stuck around and watched the other episodes, just watched them happen, because he was just there and he was super into it. So
anybody else lose Mike's audio?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. Kevin, why don't we go over to you and talk about your new Chicagoland sports project? I see. Let's talk about this. You have a Craig Robinson flip-flop flying family tree behind you?
I do. That might actually be worth some money, because I think that he stopped. I don't even know. Like, now I actually kind of feel bad, but I think he had to stop selling these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So pre-lawsuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had this up, like, and right when it went on for sale, I got it, because I love this thing. It's just such a great piece of art. So
yeah, his stuff is so great.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's talk about the.
For me, okay. So.
Yeah. No, I think you're safe, man. Let's talk about the Midway Minute.
Yes, sure. So I'm writing a Chicago sports newsletter called Midway Minute, and you can find it at midwayminute.win, and it's basically just kind of a daily digest / column of Chicago sports stuff. I actually left Yahoo Sports last December.
My bad.
Yeah, so this has kind of been what I've been doing for the past 5 or 6 months, and
awesome.
I would not recommend starting a sports newsletter a month before they get rid of sports entirely. Actually going pretty well. I have a pretty decent following in the 3 or 4 months I've been running it, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to bring up 2 Chicago cards, kind of go on brand with this. And if people like Chicago sports and that's their thing, I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Phenomenal. What are people doing for, like, if you're anything like me, sports used to take up a tremendous amount of your consciousness and time and energy. How are you guys filling your days now with no sports, especially with sports-focused media jobs?
Can you hear me again?
You're back. Yeah.
All right, great.
Nicely
So
done.
as I was saying about Manny Machado, no, I'm just kidding. I think we've, in the news end of it, I think we're still following sort of the day-to-day, stuff. Where I felt the bigger hit was like that we went from, I was going to have like 4 days a week of like kid baseball to like 0 days of kid baseball. That's where the sports hit really, really impacted my life. I mean, we're still watching the news. We're still, obviously writing and doing content stuff every day. But I went from like, oh man, how are we going to make it through this baseball season with the kids to like, oh crap, now we don't, how are we going to, what are they going to do all these days? But I think on work, I've also, and Yahoo Sports has been great about this, like just pivot into different things. Like I did a couple, we did a spin-off of old baseball cards where we did old basketball cards with some NBA guys. We had Jalen Rose on there, trying to tap into the, the Last Dance stuff. I did a little bit of Michael Jordan. I did a story about Michael Jordan basketball cards. And so I'm just trying to find cool things that are different, that sports fans are still into right now. And, there's a lot of stuff that people like. The baseball card stuff, honestly, has been huge right now. Everybody's into baseball cards, like either again, or they just have a lot of time to sit around and go through their old baseball cards.
Yep. How about you, Kevin? How are you feeling your days?
I've been surprised at how much there has been to write about. When the seasons were suspended, I thought, okay, great. I'm not going to be able to do this 5 days a week. And honestly, there haven't been many days where I've struggled to come up with something. And, I've had to get a little bit more enterprising. I wrote about a guy who was trying to collect every single ticket for games that Michael Jordan played. It's like 1,200, some of them, and that took off, and people really liked that. The Blackhawks fired their president. The Cubs and Sox have obviously been going through a lot of trials and tribulations, whether or not they're coming back. The Bears have had a pretty regular off season, so to speak. So it hasn't been that crazy. I don't know if Oz agrees, but when you throw in the kids being home all day, I've felt more busy than ever right now.
I've totally been busier than ever. I think a part of that is just having to, school young children. And like, I literally spent an hour today on like getting my kid to write sentences. And it's like, he's a kindergartner. And like, he'll write one letter and then he'll just like, I'm like, no, write box, BOX, write that, and it just it takes a long time.
I know Riley can relate to this. He's nodding down there.
I feel that for sure. Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. I'm so glad that you guys were able to carve out some time and join us. We don't always have serious baseball card guys on there. And I hope people don't feel like we are, making fun of these, of the cards and the hobby. We really do this out of love and respect. And we're hyped to have you guys do this with us. So
my choices are not serious, by the way. My choices are
perfect.
in the spirit of the show.
There's a spectrum of stuff to be enjoyed within the baseball card world, or the trading card world. So let's just let's dive into it. I always forget how to do this at the beginning of the show. I'm going to figure out how to share my screen.
It's good. It's a featured part of the show.
That's right. This is the part where Ian
tries to work a computer. It's good.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, Boomer. Here we go, you guys. Episode 7. Mike, I believe you are going to kick us off.
Oh, yeah.
And here we've got everybody's favorite Matt Latos.
First of all, so there's a reason I picked Matt Latos. K-Duck hopefully gets it. And I have a great story. But first of all, I love this card because I feel like this is the perfect Matt Latos card. Like he looks like he actually looks like he went to the grocery store and someone told him he has to wear a mask and he's about to punch that person in the face. Like that is what he looks like in that thing.
Serious side eye happening here.
Yeah. I know this is not old. This guy's not very old school, so I hope you guys, are okay with the fact that I picked someone who, was pitching not that long ago. But I like Matt Latos for this reason, and it's a story. I got hired at Yahoo Sports in 2013, and like a week into it, K-Duck is my boss at the time, sends me to spring training. So this is my first month covering baseball. First time I've professionally been in like a clubhouse or anything. And I think it was the second day. I go to the Reds And the first person I talked to was Matt Latos, right? So this is like,
boy.
you know.
This is your first mistake.
Yeah, so I go up to Matt Latos, and he looks at me, and he's like, what, Jeff Passan is too scared to come see me or something like that? And I'm just like, what? Like, what is going on? And then we talk, and he talks about, I don't know, whatever we said. I remember talking about fishing and some other stuff or whatever. So we stopped talking, and then he goes, tell Jeff Passan next time I see him, I'm going to punch him in the face. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what is happening? So this is also the first day that I met C. Trent, who I know, friends of everyone here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to C. Trent, and I'm like, what's this about? You know? And again, like, I'm super novice at all this baseball stuff at this point. And he didn't know. So I text K-Duck and I text Passan in the same thing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with Matt Latos? And Passan is like, I have no idea what, you know, like why he's mad at me. Like, you know, normally I would assume that if a guy wants to punch you in the face and you're, you know, someone like Jeff Passan, you know why. Didn't know why. So Passan is like, go back and ask him why he's mad at me.
Oh, no.
And I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to do that. Because then he's going to punch me in the face. And so we come to find out, or I guess K-Duck theorized that Matt Latos was actually mad at him. Right? Is that what it was, Kevin?
Yeah, so I think a year earlier, I had been doing the spring training tour, and I was in Goodyear for a day, and Matt Latos had done his, like, first start, you know, and it was like the first spring training start where they pitch an inning or two, and it's just one of those things where no one really takes what happens seriously. You know, if someone gets torched for 3 home runs, they say, oh, well, I was working for my curveball, and it's not dropping yet, not a big deal. Well, Latos had gotten torched in his first inning out, and we all went to go interview him, and he just acted like the most petulant ass ever. And I basically wrote about it, like, why is this guy, like, melting down over his first start when literally no one melts down over their first spring training start? And I wrote that, and then, you know, of course, when you're working for a national baseball site, you just move on. So it's not like the normal, you're in the clubhouse next day to take whatever from
take the punch from Matt Latos.
Right. So I think that was it. And I think he had just stored that away for whenever someone from Yahoo, and somehow conflated me with Jeff Passan, which I don't know how that happens.
You have much better hair.
But yeah, so I think, and then a year later, the bomb exploded and you had to deal with it. So I do appreciate you bringing this up, because that made my day.
It's just it's one of my favorite little stories. I don't think I've ever told that story anywhere, so I felt like this was a good
phenomenal.
Chance. Yeah, a good chance.
Well, yeah, he did. Latos definitely did have that rep, and it sounds like it was well deserved. Like, he was just sort of a red ass in an era where the red ass is sort of a dying breed. So it's nice to see he's keeping the tradition alive.
Plus, he had a cat. Cat Latos. That was fun. Like, I feel like we could get a lot out of Matt Latos. Like, even though this wasn't that long ago, 2020 Matt Latos, we can get a lot out of if he was around today.
Absolutely,
especially if
especially if his wife is going to chime in on Twitter. So,
oh yeah,
she's like a crazy reply guy out there. So, Matt Latos officially retired. Do we know? Is he still in the game? He hung him up yet?
He was playing for. I think he was with the Ducks. Like a year ago, but then I looked this up today and I didn't remember it or take notes, but some other team, and like the Trenton somebody, or, you know, something like that he had
Indie League
signed with this year, and then obviously nothing's happened.
Yeah. He's one of those guys who could pop up in the headlines like with whatever, and I would not be surprised in the least, which is not a great thing, but
no, 100%. I gotta say, I do like this series. I mean, the Topps Heritage stuff is generally pretty cool. The treatment, like, of this photo, they've sort of like done a filter to make it look like film grain and stuff. And I did call out in the description that it does look like he's wearing eye black or eyeliner or something. He almost looks like a Riley. Do you feel like a TSOL singer Jack Grisham or somebody like that from like the early '80s punk rock days?
Yeah, totally. Or like bleached goth.
Yes. Yeah. No, totally TSOL vibes, but like it's a cool presentation. I'm not sure. Does anybody know what series they're nodding to? Like what year falling back to with this?
I don't. If I was more prepared, I wish I was. But I actually just bought some Heritage recently. I generally buy some of those every year just because I always like the old design on them. And they're somewhere around here, but I like buying them. I never feel like I get anything good though. There's never like any. I don't know. Some of those other ones, like I like the archives or I like Ginter. I feel like with Heritage, I never get anything that's like, oh my god, that's cool. It's always just a bunch of like random dudes, like Matt Lay does.
Random dudes. That's what we're all about here. Kevin, you're up, and you have got everybody's favorite, Lamar Hoyt.
Yeah.
If you told me this was a card from 2020, I would believe you.
I do like this, and because you could kind of just assume that Lamar Hoyt is anybody at this point. Like if you said, this is a guy who walked out of My Morning Jacket,
Right.
Yes,
wearing his
100%, dude.
Fox jacket, like you'd be like, all right. So yeah, I do like this one just because to me it's just kind of captures the essence of what Lamar Hoyt was. Just kind of like a badass guy straight out of South Carolina, 1983 Cy Young Award winner. Didn't actually have a great first half for that 83 White Sox, but really kind of came on strong. And then, unfortunately in the mid 80s to late 80s, then had the drug problem like so many other players in San Diego did. And then we really never heard from him.
Riley, I don't know if you're willing to speculate. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, if you gave him some face tattoos, I feel like he would be Post Malone. Right?
Yes.
Like he kind of looks like Post Malone.
Yes.
I absolutely see it. I'd forgotten about his Padres tenure. Riley, do you think that Lamar Hoyt was the beginning of the yacht club era in San Diego? I can't remember anybody that predates him.
Definitely the beginning of the Clayton Richard. What are some other ones?
I don't know. That's just like insane yacht club vibes on that name, even though he's a dude from the American South.
Go yachting in the Gulf.
Yep. No, I just love everything about this. That's an iconic Sox uniform logo. I know that, not a lot of people love it. I think it's phenomenal. We've got the satin warm-up jacket, the clearly peak athletic performance stance. Like this guy is clearly an elite athlete. You can tell. Just the empty stadium sprawling behind him. Maybe spring training, or can you tell where that is, Kevin? Do you happen to know?
Looks like Anaheim Stadium to me, kind of.
Yeah,
Blue seats?
It's usually Los Angeles, right? Los Angeles or New York in these things. If it's not spring training.
It does look like Angel Stadium to me with the orange railing.
Right. You could picture Reggie Jackson going to kill the Queen right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing some research, and Lamar Hoyt actually was a starting pitcher in Cincinnati in 1985 when Pete Rose was going to break the record. And Hoyt had Bruce Bochy go out and ask Pete Rose, according to Hoyt, Bochy asked Pete Rose whether or not he wanted to groove him a pitch so he could break the record that night. And Pete Rose said, no, I want to earn it. And then Hoyt went out there, and between him and a relief pitcher, Rose went 0 for 4 that night.
Nice.
But apparently Hoyt really wanted to be the pitcher. He wanted to be part of that highlight. And then the next day, Eric Shaw went out and gave up grooved a pitch that Rose, I think looped for a single or maybe a double. And Hoyt was apparently pissed off about it. So I'd never heard that story before I read it in the research for this.
That would also lead me to believe that he is actually Post Malone, right? Because Post Malone knows how to make himself ubiquitous across all genres of music and just be out there.
Right.
Like maybe Post Malone is some sort of time traveling hipster person who at this point was a pitcher and now is a singer / rapper / whatever the heck Post Malone is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Professional famous person.
Same dude. I'm thinking same dude. Same exact person.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, there's some kind of Forrest Gump vibes here, like where he's like at every important moment in history, in musical history, though.
That'd be great if that was Lamar. But if Lamar Hoyt was his actual self, like he's like, this is who I really am. I'm going to pitch for the White
Sox. Kevin, I was struck though by looking through the other Lamar Hoyt cards that are on offer on the various secondary markets. This is the only photo that looks like he actually looks like a cool badass here. He just looks like a fat. He looks like a fat dad in most of the other photos. So this was like a very brief period.
87 tops Lamar Hoyt with the Padres. I can picture it in my head, and he definitely looks exactly like that. That is the one where you're like, oh yeah, you play professional baseball? Like really?
I think
go look it up.
it's a double card that has Lamar Hoyt on one side and Greg Luzinski on the other, and that's like a double, like what you were just describing. And I was going to choose that one, but then I thought, like, okay, like this one is just so cool, and I do like that kind of like musician vibe he's giving off of, and I felt like this for the show was appropriate. So.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. Really, really good poll. All right, Riley, you're up, buddy. Who do we got here?
Yeah. Steve Nicosia, who was obviously a member of the Pirates. He was a catcher. He actually looks in shape in this photo, kind of, even though he's not doing a very sportsy thing, kneeling and blowing a bubble. I have a follow-up photo for this where he does not look like an athlete. Speaking of non-athletes, like this is fitting the dad vibe.
Definitely like softball, Tuesday night softball vibes right there.
Yeah, very perplexed by the undershirt, which there's no like evidence of it above the neck, that V-neck, and then the giant sleeves. It just seems like so poorly equipped for doing sportsy things.
And I don't know if folks can see it. I hope they can, but it clearly looks like somebody took pinking shears or just like ripped off the cuffs because the edges are all jagged.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The batting gloves are nuts. They're like the garden glove variety. The hat totally looks like the souvenir hat that you could buy in the 80s.
An ice cream sundae or a thing of nachos definitely were served in that.
He also looks incredibly New Jersey, and it turns out he is from New Jersey. And there's amazing footage after the last out of the 1979 World Series. Pirates win it all. Fans storm the field. And I sent Ian a tweet earlier. We'll include it in like the show rundown or whatever. But about 30 seconds into that clip, it cuts to like an overhead view. And Steve is absolutely beating the shit out of some fan. He's still in his catching gear and he's bent over. He's got the guy on the ground and he is just delivering like uppercut after uppercut after uppercut to this poor dude's face. And I guess that's his legacy outside of looking like shit in these somehow the worst Pirates uniforms ever. These ones are not as bad, but the all black to me is that's a rough look.
Like
it's the font, the typography is just awful. It's ghastly.
That one to me, the black one, it looks like I'm not a baseball player, but I'm going to make my own uniform at home and try to sneak in and pretend to be a baseball player. Like that is what all of this looks like. Like you talk about like the cutoff sleeves and just the whole thing, the fake helmet. Like he looks like he's just trying to pretend to be a baseball player.
Yeah, it's total Halloween costume baseball player vibes.
So good. Yeah, you're right, Riley. Like by contrast, he looks like actually handsome here.
Yeah. Casual, blowing a bubble, taking it easy. And then the next thing you know, he's looking like the next photo and beating the shit out of some poor fan after a game.
Oh my God.
Natural progression.
Right. Yeah. Moving right along. Hey, you guys, I got my old school child of the week. It's Simon Gagne.
Wow.
Literally no idea who Simon Gagne is. In my mind, he's definitely related to Eric Gagne, who is also Canadian.
Gotta be.
Strangely enough, I was looking to see if there was a Cowboy Curtis card, a Lawrence Fishburne, the role that he performed so well in Pee-wee's Playhouse, the children's show. So just in searching Pee-wee, I came up with the 1994 Danone Quebec Pee-wee hockey series.
Is that French yogurt?
Yeah, exactly. Danone. We got young Simon Gagne here, who in 1994 was considered an NHL prospect. Some young, under 16 situation. And he really does, for all the world, look like a French-Canadian Jonathan Taylor Thomas, if anybody remembers that guy.
Wow.
So he had a good career for a long time with the Flyers, and then I think maybe the Avalanche.
Oh my God, I had no idea that I picked an actual NHL player. That's how little I know about hockey. That's amazing.
Good job there. Oz is the same age as me. I had that haircut in 1995 or 94. So this is, I don't know, bringing back bad memories. I don't know if you had anything similar, Oz, or
I don't think I've ever had hair that long, maybe in my entire life.
for you. But yeah, every hockey player in my high school would have this. They would have the long hair and then shaved underneath. Like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, not great. Not great.
I think that's
That
also
was
like a
dope.
rock and roll haircut, though, right?
Yeah, kind of. Styled like that, maybe not, but
Yeah, but
the concept itself, like long on top and
Yeah, it was like high schoolers trying to be like Kurt Cobain at that age.
right.
Wasn't working.
I love that his position on this in the show rundown is it looks more like a misspelling of centaur.
that's what I was gonna ask. Like,
So everything on the card.
Rod jokes or something.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't include the card back, but everything on the back is in French and in English, obviously, as you do in Canada. And it did have centaur as the spelling. And every time I looked at it, I read centaur as well. So you're certainly not alone.
Well, we can't see his legs, so we don't know.
He's Schrodinger's being. He is both a centaur and a human being until we see his lower half, right? Cool. Well, I learned something about Simon Gagne today. We still do need to establish, though, that he is related to Eric.
I just want to once again applaud Kevin Kaduk for knowing that this guy was a real hockey player. And
Right.
Insane.
If
So
we
good.
didn't have you here today, none of us would know that.
I've served my purpose. Thanks, everyone.
And that brings us back around to you, Mike, your second old school player of the
Yeah.
week. I think I heard of this guy. This guy, I know. He played pro ball.
Man.
Yeah, I know first of all that my first guy wasn't very old school and this guy isn't very random, but I just wanted to talk about these cards. That's really what it was. So these are the Fleer
Provisions.
Provision. There you go. The Fleer Provision. And so the Fleer Provision, when they first came out, were awesome, right? They kind of had the poster vibe, like you're saying. Like I remember a lot of them where it was like, Roger Clemens, but he has like a bazooka on his arm or whatever. And then around 93 or 94, like Fleer just started taking LSD, I feel like. And then they all turned into stuff like this. So there was one I wanted to pick. I don't know if you guys, how many of these cards you know. There's a Manny Ramirez card where he is like in like a tornado or something. There's a Juan Gonzalez one where he's swinging like a branding iron. But this is the one I had as a kid, so I picked this one. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I still like those cards, but I was just marveling at how they went from like, okay, this is a cool sort of like poster on your wall vibe to like, oh, these people are on actual drugs. Like they're like, what's going on with all these cards? And the interesting thing about them was they only put like 5 or 6 into each of those years. So they weren't like a thing where there was like 30 inserts. There was only a few. So I remember when you got one of those, you're like, oh, this is cool. Even if it was, some other guy you didn't like. So that was always kind of one I held on to them. And I have a few of them, but like this one always just struck me as like, this is so weird. This is such a weird baseball card. And, Ozzie Smith is cool, but the Fleer Provisions, like, I don't know.
It's crazy, and I'm super here for it. I love this card. I love everything about it.
He looks more like Wanda Sykes with a mustache than Ozzie Smith to me. But it's a good try. It's a good effort.
The Jeff Bagwell one from that same year, he's like, there's like a spaceship taking off over him, and like they're all, if you go look at them, they're all ridiculous. And yeah, I just, I know that I just legitimately had this one. I like the little cardinal sitting on his shoulder. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like if you stare, sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Just remember, it was the royalties from stuff like this that allowed the players to strike later that year. So like this card had a direct impact on the 1994 strike.
I do feel like if you stared at this card long enough, your consciousness, you could feel it expanding. It's really nuts.
I had no idea that this one existed because like 1994, as we just discussed, I had long hair and was into grunge music and all that. And I think in like every card collector's time, it's like you have your childhood years where every dollar that you get, you're running to the card shop and plunking it down for a pack of Donruss or Upper Deck. And then you get into music and all that money is going to CDs and amps and whatever. And then you don't come back to cards until maybe once you're 20 or 25. I don't know if it's the same for you guys. But
and now you're an adult and all the cards and CDs are both just sitting in your garage and your wife is like, what the hell, man? Get rid of this stuff.
Wish I had all that money back. Yeah.
But
Good times.
That is exactly my life, though. All the baseball cards, just into CDs, and yeah. But I do have this one in the garage somewhere.
Phenomenal. Thank you for pulling it. Great call. Kevin, I've also heard of this guy. I feel like he played a couple games.
Yeah, so obviously Ernie Banks. I picked one joke card and then one serious card. I just think this card is so beautiful. It's the 1954 Ernie Banks Topps. It's his rookie card. That 54 set had a couple of rookies in there. It was Hank Aaron, and I think Al Kaline's also in there. This card is posted on eBay, Gem Mint 9 right now for $80,000, which is insane. Go back and look at some of the sales. A Gem Mint 10 sold in 2012 for $7,500. So who knows? I mean, obviously people can post whatever they want on eBay for whatever price they want. But if the market is really going this crazy, where this card could fetch $80,000, and it might. I mean, who knows? But I just picked it because I just love this card. I love how young Ernie looks. As someone who was born 7 years after Ernie Banks stopped playing, I've always just kind of known him as the old man who came around saying, let's play two. And not a lot of Ernie Banks highlights really exist. I mean, for people in Chicago, we know the 500th home run, but that's pretty much it. But when you see something like this, I mean, this is just, this is a guy who has his entire career in front of him. And I always love seeing athletes really right before everything kind of takes off. You still see that boy in their face, and you see that with Ernie Banks here. But then not only do they have a great mugshot, but then the cool Cubs logo, which I think is an underrated Cubs logo. I'm not a huge fan of like the old kind of Cincinnati Reds / Cubs style hat, but it's kind of cool to have a different thing, featured on there. And then of course you have the cutout too, and the autographs. So you look at this, and I think, obviously the 52 Mickey Mantle is considered a work of art, and I think this is obviously not as popular and wouldn't sell for as much money, even though $80,000 is still a lot. But to me, it's a work of art, and that's why I included it.
Just absolutely stunning. I mean, I called it the platonic idea of what a baseball card should look like.
Yeah.
Just the typography. I mean, the fact that, some guy most likely was laying this out on a light table, with a mat knife and stuff. It's just, and, shooting film of it and stuff. It's just so incredible when you think about what went into this. Yeah, like you called it a work of art. I don't have anything further to say about it. It's just beautiful.
So good.
I like that he signed it Ernest Banks, which makes me that sort of brings like a little more of just that. I would imagine he didn't continue to sign Ernest Banks as he became Ernie Banks. So
Right.
that has that sort of like, youthful sort of thing to it too, which I really enjoy.
Really good. Great selection. Moving on, Riley.
Yeah.
Very different kind of card, very different kind of player.
Yeah, this
It's everybody's
is not,
favorite, Ricky Leday.
Yeah, not the platonic ideal of a of a baseball card.
Weird ass Bowman Chrome from the late 90s.
Yeah, the 90s aspect is super hideous. The pose is, I mean, maybe he was joking, but I don't think so. Ricky Leday was never presented to us as a the clubhouse cut up, like the
matinee
prankster.
idol.
Yeah. I did. As I was thinking about Ricky Leday, though, I always feel like he was supposed to be good. Maybe it was because he was a Yankee, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's on the Yankees, so he's going to be great." And he ended up bouncing around forever and never really sticking anywhere. He's worth just under 3 wins in 10 or 12 years in the bigs or something like that. And the thing that strikes me about this photo is the hand on the face, which makes me think that the baseball card photographer couldn't make it this day. So they had the child, the baby photographer show up and take the photo. And baby photographers only know 3 poses. And one of them, Ian, I gave you a photo, is this pose, which is supernatural for babies, right? Babies are always sitting just like this,
Yeah. When they come out of the womb, they look like this.
Just like, yeah. I always cringe when I see baby photos like this because it just seems so. It's like they're molding clay or something, and you're like, that's a baby. That's a living thing. Like, why are you posing it like that? I don't know.
I like that the baby also has the Coachella like head thing, little garland that all the girls wear.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no! Why do I always do that?
Oh, hey.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Wrong direction. Yeah. Anybody have any standout memories of Ricky Leday? I certainly remember his tenure, but nothing other than, I think Riley sort of pointed out he was supposed to be better than he ended up being, but that's sort of all that comes to mind.
I remember him for the card. Like, this is to me one of the iconic, like, sort of goofy baseball cards, along with, was it Brian Harper on the phone, right? That's who that is?
Yes, the giant Zach Morris phone.
Yeah. We actually did one year we did a video where we had people, like, and this was at the All-Star game in San Diego. So maybe 2016, something like that. We had people from the celebrity game reenact cards. I think this is one of them. I think we had the kid from Modern Family doing that thing.
Shit.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like it was him, but I know we did that. And I tried to get, so when we did that, I was like, okay, we got to get the Brian Harper one because Zach Morris or Mark Paul Gosselaar was there.
Oh shit!
And I was like, dude, we gotta get him to do that one, right? And then he just went off on me, and because we didn't have like an old school cell phone to give him. He's like, oh, only do it if you have a real old school cell phone. Like, it's like, I'm not gonna do it with like just a new cell phone. And I'm like, why are you such a jerk, dude? And then he went to like, next to us was Entertainment Tonight, and he went to Entertainment Tonight and was like complaining about us, and I was just like, exactly. That's why Slater was better, man.
Yeah.
There's a story for you.
I'm disappointed, Zach.
Not mad, just disappointed.
So we know that if a writer writes a bad article, like Matt Latos or whatever will get in the face of the writer or the writer's coworker a year later. We know that if like the official scorer marks him down for an error, sometimes a player will come into the dugout, call up to the press box, and argue about the ruling. Do you think that baseball players ever call tops and be like, dude, what the hell? Because if I was Ricky Leday and I was all excited, all right, I'm getting a baseball card, and I'm going to look cool, and maybe I'll be sliding into second or hitting a home run or doing something. And he opens up his pack and he pulls this. Like, how are you not going to be pissed off? You're calling tops, right?
His mom would like it. His mom would be like, oh, Ricky, you look so nice. His grandma would be happy, But, yeah.
We'll have to ask David Roth or, some other – I have another friend who used to work at Tops. I'll have to see if the players or their representatives ever, like, gotten the ear of the card guys.
Well, Troy Hawkins told me once, and it's not the same thing, but he told me he called tops once because he was never getting into the sets. Because, they stopped doing, like, everybody gets in. So he was like, man, it was like 3 or 4 years that I was not in there. And I called him and I said, hey, what do I got to do to get a baseball card? He's like, I've been in the big leagues for, 15 years. Why do I not have a baseball card? And then the next year they made sure to put it in. So
I feel like the new version of that is like athletes bitching about their ratings on like Madden
or I was just gonna say that, yeah, for sure.
MLB The Show. They're just like, what the 70? My slider grades a 70 by itself.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Everybody complain. That'll get you what you want. All right, I already screwed up. You already saw what it was. But hey, everybody, it's Ricky Waters. This card is less about Ricky Waters and more about the Rap Show, Skybox Premium Rap Show series. I don't know if you guys remember this. I didn't until I started doing some research.
Wow.
This is the card back.
It sounds like something I need, man.
The card front is sort of unremarkable. It's like a cool action shot of Ricky, and there's a Warren Moon quote on the front for some reason about how great Ricky Waters was. But really, for me, this is all about the card back. Riley, this is sort of similar to what we touched on last week with your series.
But worse somehow.
Morandini cards. So in 1998, the white people at Skybox were sure that this rap thing was catching on. The kids were into it. And so somebody at Skybox wrote a rap that goes like this. Pretty Ricky is what they call you. I'm actually not sure that that's true. That's because your game is so lovely. Moves and power. Son, you remind me of a young Walter P. Because everybody knows Walter Payton's nickname was Walter P. Linebackers freeze when they see you because they don't want to get shook or run over. So I was just absolutely confounded when I found this. Were they trying to rhyme power with run over? Like I have so many questions. So many questions.
Oh, man.
Great.
This is amazing on so many levels.
I can feel I can like feel the brain freeze at the end of it. Like you get to the run over part and you're just like, and
yes, where's the matching rhyme? Deliver it.
Come on.
You've left me hanging.
Waters got into a lot of battles with a lot of people over his career, so I kind of would have liked to see him dissing like Lou Holtz for his time at Notre Dame on here instead. Like I would have given that more credit.
Yeah, just everything about the card back is terrible. I feel like, based on what I'm looking at, I don't know if the black border is the entire card. I kind of feel like it is, but I can't tell. And then there's all this negative space in the middle after the wrap and before the number. And then the photo is just completely unremarkable. It's like him at practice with no pads, just carrying a football. Like completely lame photo.
You guys go through and then end up purchasing these cards for your collections after. This is definitely when you need to.
Yeah, and it's only $2. It's out there, so.
Was this like an insert set as like a part of a regular set? Okay.
Yeah, there was only 15 of these total, the Rap Show ones in '98. So.
Yeah, I mean, I granted, like that's good because I don't want to picture somebody having to write like 100 raps, so-called raps of things. But man, but it also makes me wonder who the other people are.
It was like a really weird. It wasn't necessarily all stars. It was like a variety of different dudes and positions. There didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. I couldn't figure it out, but
I want them all kind of. I kind of want all of them.
I mean, if they're all $2, you could cop the whole set for 30. So I feel like that would be money well spent. On
the plus side, you could squeeze a C in front of Rap Show and really finish the card out. There is space for it.
The late 90s were weird times, man. They just, as you guys know the market better than I ever will. They were just looking for inventory in a lot of ways. Just, what's an idea? Everybody pitch me an idea for a new card series. We just need to push the shit out there and the kids will buy it. So.
Well, Skybox also, and Skybox never did baseball, but like if you go back to look at some of the basketball things, like they obviously were just throwing anything against the wall. And
yes.
I love the Skybox like 91, 92 basketball cards. At the time, they were great. They're the ones with all the prisms in the background, and on the back they would have like sort of photos like I mean, it's almost the same setup as this in some degree. They have a nice photo on the back, but it would be, like I know the Horace Grant one because we just pulled this in an episode was like him in front of his car, right? And so they were very much like they were doing stuff. So I feel like Skybox was like cool at one point, and I feel like this is probably the point where like Skybox had just totally jumped the shark and then was just throwing anything out there and was doing some really bad stuff because of it.
Indeed. Well, that's all the cards that we have prepared. Mike, what do you have in store for us now? Dun, 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 dun.
These are
snap.
I've wanted to use these on a show before, but we have not had the opportunity, and I felt like this might be a good spot. So these are the Pro Set Superstar music cards.
Oh, ooh. Hell yes.
I know you guys are music guys. Kevin K-Duck, at the very least, is a guy who listens to like My Morning Jacket, and I'm sure am I correct, Kevin K-Duck, in the fact that like on Saturday when you got to clean the house, you put on like Bob Seger radio on like Pandora, and that's what happens?
No, I'm a pretty big music guy. You know that. Denigrating me over here.
I just wanted to get you with some Midwest stuff, but I will just go in like.
I don't want no Seeger slander on this program, though. I'm a huge fan.
We'll just go old baseball card style as we've done these in Zoom, and I'm just going to show you guys the cards, and we can go. We are starting off with a legend, Jimmy Page.
There we go.
Nice.
Jimmy Page with the double neck SG and the weird SS cap.
Foot on the monitor.
That from? It's an iconic pose. Is that from Song Remains the Same, the motion picture? Do we know?
I don't know.
I want to
These
say
are-
song remains the same. He might have had the dragon kimono outfit on, so it might be different.
Did everybody have the guy in high school? And this guy had the haircut that Simone Gagne did, but everyone had the guy who didn't know how to play the guitar yet, but was insistent on breaking out the guitar with the violin bow because he saw Jimmy Page doing it. Like, everyone had that.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been in bands with that guy. Yeah. I was never that guy, but I've definitely jammed with that guy.
What do you guys think about Taylor Dane? Taylor Dane.
Oh, Two of
good.
Hearts, was that the big Taylor Dane hit? Two of Hearts.
I don't know. I'm looking on the back. It does not say.
I remember her being like sexy but not pretty, and like hot but not talented.
That probably sums it up. I mean, she looks like a she reminds me of a woman who would be the like pro wrestling ballet, like a Missy Hyatt or something like in that photo. You know.
No relation to Ron Dane.
Just keep it Wisconsin. I don't know that I've ever heard of these guys. Sabotage?
Oh yeah. Sabotage were like gothic, not gothic, almost like progressive metal. I think the main dude was Rod Sabotage, or I might be making that up. But I feel like there is a Sabotage and is it Mannheim Steamroller connection?
Oh God.
Right.
Who's the big Christmas band that does the
Mannheim Steamroller? My
That's
dad
them, okay.
played the shit out of that
Trans-Siberian Orchestra is the other one.
That's the one.
Trans-Siberian
Like,
Orchestra is the metal one.
I feel like there's a Trans-Siberian Orchestra Sabotage connection, but again, I
that.
could be crossing some wires somewhere. But yeah, super, like
the-
shreddy prog metal.
Speaking of people who are on drugs, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra people, those people are like, when I was a music writer, I interviewed that guy, and it was one of those times where I just asked like one question, and then he just went off for like 20 minutes about whatever. And I was like, yeah, dude, all right. And then I went to Trans-Siberian Orchestra for the first time, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? It was something. Debbie Gibson. This is probably like peak Debbie Gibson, right? 91. She was Team
Iconic.
Heartthrob.
Yeah.
No, that's maybe like 89, but yeah, you know.
Maybe slightly after her prime. Good card though.
Oh, we got two Debbie Gibsons in the same pack. A different.
Oh.
This is. She might have dreadlocks. Can you guys see that? She maybe has dreadlocks.
Oh yeah.
Oh. A little older, a little wiser. She's lived a little by this point.
This is the music version of the Pirate Sketcher we just saw.
Yeah.
New Edition. I love New Edition. So we pulled.
New
Hell
Edition
yes.
was great.
About that. Yeah.
How many careers did New Edition start? It's like all 5 dudes went on to have like amazing solo careers, or like 4 out of 5 of them.
Well, then they brought in. Well, then Johnny Gill replaced Bobby, so that would be another one.
Yep.
And then they are basically responsible for like New Kids on the Block and all those boy bands because they started all that.
All those dudes who had the Simone Gagne haircuts.
Yeah, but they're all dressed up in like trench coats and.
They were so great. Man,
really good stuff.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick, guys. Cheap Trick.
Woo. Huge fan. One of the best American rock bands of all time, in my humble opinion. With original drummer Bunny Carlos, who has since been replaced by, I want to say, Rick Nielsen's kid on drums.
I'll get you a little close up there. There you go.
Beautiful. Love it.
Solid looks there.
I have a friend who still is really into Cheap Trick, so shout out to him.
I mean, I don't currently I don't still buy their records, but the first 3-4 records are all absolute classics.
Do you guys remember when Paul Abdul was an actual artist that people cared about? Remember that?
I was more of an MC Scat Cat fan, Mike.
So we did not get MC Scat Cat, but I looked up before we did this the checklist for this set, and there is an MC Scat Cat card. And
nice.
Shit, that's amazing.
had to wonder, like, if you were a legitimate musician in 1991 and you were not in this set, but like MC Scat Cat was, like that would have to be the ultimate disrespect, right?
You hate to see it.
We got a historic concerts, BB King at Fillmore West, and also Santana. So there you go.
Nice.
I don't know these guys either. I imagine you guys would based on their response from last time. Dangerous Toys? You know Dangerous Toys?
I know the name. I don't know anything else about them. They're like a glam rock band, probably, who tried to do like a grunge thing after the glam rock thing was over.
On the back, they have like a demonic-looking clown on the back. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
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 They look kind of young. So to me, it seems like they were one of those manufactured bands where they're like, this is what sounds cool right now. Like, you guys go play this stuff.
Right.
So they just tried to figure out a bunch of different angles to rehash other people's shit.
And we can
They
get
just
10
went
cents off.
down to sorry.
Oh,
They
no,
went
you
down to the
continue.
Guitar Institute of Technology and just like got 5 kids off the street.
Yes.
We can get 10 cents off our next purchase of a Music Stars t-shirt. So that's good.
Perfect.
That's
Still
great.
The whole
valid.
10 cents.
And then if we want, we can
wait a Lamar Hoyt card.
scratch and win a. Should I scratch this off? Should I see what happens?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
what do we win?
And they better honor this if we end up getting a winner.
If we win a free rock and roll trip for 2 to London. First prize is 54 ticket concert packages. See your favorite artists when they come to town.
Amazing.
Which should happen in 2022 at this rate.
Well, if we can win a trip to go see Dangerous Toys play, I mean that would be
Oh,
it.
man. I'll wear one of those hazmat suits they're talking about having people wear at concerts now.
Oh yes.
Sorry, try again. We didn't win.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Those were pretty. You know what though? They had a pretty good selection of people. I've never opened those on the show. I only have a couple packs of those, and sometimes like I have a whole box of Yo MTV Raps cards, and I know that there's only like 10 people in them, and they each have like 5 or 6 different cards, so you end up getting the same people all the time. But outside of the Debbie Gibson getting 2 of her, we got like a pretty wide variety of people. I mean, when you consider, from Jimmy Page to New Edition to Taylor Dayne and Paul Abdul, so that was fun.
I've definitely, trolled those online. I've never seen them in real life, but might have to see if I can score a few packs myself.
That was rad. Thank you for doing that.
Well, I
Super
got
fun.
my collection of random cards is actually quite ridiculous, of just stuff that, like, I don't know why I do this, but like, so I have a thing I bring with me to record old baseball cards, which, hold on a second, I will get it.
A tub.
It's this thing.
Cute.
Ooh.
Bring this
Love it.
place.
It's a caboodle. Oh no, it's a new
A hat
era.
holder.
I stopped doing it, but I wanted to have like a lot of. Well, there is still baseball cards in here, as you can see.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
But within that, I had just like I carried on the same pack of Baywatch baseball cards, probably for like a year, just in case I ever came across like Pamela Anderson or David Hasselhoff, I guess.
As one does.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I got like a Batman Returns pack. I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cards. You never know, dude. You never know when I might need those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cards.
Do we have an
When
estimate?
you don't have that Batman Returns set, you're screwed.
Right?
Do we have an estimate, Mike, of either packs or cards about what the number of items you feel like you have in your collection is?
Oh, I have no idea.
Not even to the closest 1,000.
I probably don't have as many cards as people might expect. I actually pared down probably by the time I went to college. Like, I got rid of all the sort of junk, and so I have, I don't know, probably, I mean, maybe like 100,000 single cards or something like that. But also, I have a ton of packs now because I've just been accumulating stuff since we started doing the show. So I have, again, sort of ready to go on any sort of like, oh, you want to open cards from like the early 80s? Yeah, I got some of that. Mid 90s, I got some of that. I got like country music cards. I got U.S. Olympian cards, because I would just, find them random places for 50 cents each. And like, oh yeah, I'll take that. I'll take this. And so I have a whole thing in my closet of just unopened cards that, whenever we go to record, I bust them out.
Awesome. Well, the shows are always great. You can follow Mike's writing at Yahoo and watch old baseball cards. They're always great. Like you said, sometimes you get a surprise, like Randy Johnson being a lovely guy and having it be super fun and funny. So follow Mike, and you should definitely subscribe to Kevin's Midway Minute at midwayminute.win, the new Chicagoland sports blog. It's really great stuff. You should buy Classic Grit gear for your collection.
No, if
And
you
you
want
should-
to.
No, you should do it even if you don't want to.
Right.
I'll be the bad cop. You can be the good cop, right?
Okay.
And you should like and subscribe so that you get notified as soon as we get another video up, because that will help the algorithm or something like that. You guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a friggin' blast. And best of luck. Stay safe, stay home, and stay healthy.
Thanks, guys. Had a great time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Shout out to Dangerous Toys.